Greetings, my fellow philosophical thinkers. Thank you for tuning to LL3-Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful realms of planet Earth. Today's date is Sunday, August 24th, 2025. And this is episode 1882, The New Rights March in Ukraine. Before I proceed, you can find me on multiple social media sites and podcast channels. Just type in Loki Luck number 3, Loki Luck Roman number 3 eyes, or the Loki Luck Roman number 3 podcast. Furthermore, if you have any questions, comments, recommendations, all that good stuff, whatever you do, please use decorum. Hit me via email to ll3.podcast@proton.me. If you want to donate, go to PayPal.me or cash.app/Loki Luck number 3. If you want to hit me and Steemit and be a disciple there, it's at LL number 3-podcast. Oh yeah, so 33 years ago today, Hurricane Andrew affected Miami-Dade County area, especially in the southern district of the county. And it was very devastating indeed. Dry hurricane, 2 inches of rain, category 5 when it hit land, around 2 a.m. and it ended around 7. And fortunately for me, where I was at, we were it's minor damage, thank goodness. But further down south, it was horrendous. A lot of lessons were learned. And they took the initiative of giving people a hand in that area. Even boarded up a window, loaf of bread. Even went to one of the stations and just donate my time. That's why I don't never take things for granted. I'm not materialistic. I don't get excited over little things. But there's folks in that area during that time that hardly got hit or complain about the power. Like they're the only ones with problems. I remember Neil Roger had a show after that event, and someone complained about something small, and it made it into a personal thing. He hung up on the man and went, "You think you have problems? We all have a problem here. All I want to know is the information on supplies and all that," which many people did. We can say whatever we want about Neil Rogers. He did have principles. I have my reservation to him too on a few things, but that's okay. That's what part of being an American is all about. Free speech, right? Absolutely. That was very like I said, I was very fortunate and thankful, and learned to prepare for the future, and that's what we did after the hurricane. Didn't wig out or panic, because each storm is different. It's just how it is. Not every hurricane is like Andrew. Remember, they didn't have something like that in over 50 years, that powerful. And I did my little homework. The 1935 Labor Day hurricane that affected the Keys heavily, including the Gold Coast Railroad, which Flagler created, and the pillars are still there by the 7 Mile Bridge. When you go there, heading to Key West, you see pillars. When you're heading south, it's on your left-hand side. That was the remnants to give you a lesson. They try to achieve, and nature said, no way. To always respect it. I was watching some videos about people are going crazy about inflation, cost of living, and all that. And people, and there's a lot of them out there too, are complaining about where they live. One thing you gotta look at, folks, this even including, especially people in my demographics in their 50s, the ones that are griping and whining and screaming at the top of their lungs. We have 2 diseases that affected the United States and the world: Hamiltonianism and technocracy. Look that up. And everything's going crazy. Cost of living, printing money out in there, fiat currency. That was under the Nixon administration. Even Roger Stone said that was one of the egregious moves Richard Nixon made. You print money out in there that's not backed up by gold and silver, everything skyrockets. Little history lesson. Look up the fall of the Reichsmark that happened in the 1920s during the Weimar Republic of Germany. When they were trying to pay off their restitution, the banksters decided to use fiat currency, print it out of thin air, and Everything went in hell in the handbasket, and Berlin was one big prostitution cesspool. Sodom and Gomorrah in Berlin. Who took advantage of it? The National Socialist Workers' Party. A la Nazis. That's how Hitler got into power. If you learn from the past, my friends, are damn to repeat it. I see a lot of these folks that are wigging out, not paying attention, assuming. And I'm not saying I'm better than them. No. I'm not here to say that. But people need to pay attention, need to study these things before going on a tirade. Why? They never paid attention. They don't study history. The whole COVID lockdown, people take this COVID money for granted. I told folks, prepare yourselves. Items are going to be skyrocketing. Now everyone's having the cow. I'm not a genius. I'm not a predictor. I'm not a prophet. I studied history. Watched documentaries on these things. We got to be informed. That's why in the political realm, they say, oh, red, blue. It's pathetic. It's weak, unmerited. There's people that hate Trump so much, they can't even wipe their own butts. I'm critical of a man, too, at times. I have my reservations, but I use merit instead of being a parrot or some bobblehead, bend over Bob or Bod on an idiot box, reading from a teleprompter. I don't get my information from them. And take it and run with it. This is going on around the world, folks. This is why I support decentralizing. I know many states now are using, good amount of states that have bills signed into law on gold and silver. To use this for financial transactions. I know Florida was the latest. Like DeSantis or not, thank him. Thank Governor DeSantis for doing that. Because he knows the Federal Reserve note, it's not our dollar, it's the Federal Reserve note, a private central banking institution which Karl Marx climaxed over in his Communist Manifesto. Okay? So if you support the Federal Reserve, you're a Marxian sympathizer. Gold and silver should be the legal transactions. Article 1, Section 8 and 10 of the U.S. Constitution. Read it. It's self-explanatory. You don't need a lawyer to tell you this. And I digressed, and I apologize, but I had to let people know what's been happening. I've been very thankful. There's folks out there aren't. I'm not saying I'm better than them. No. But I am teaching others, inspiring others what to do. I have a friend of mine, had his house paid off, which is awesome. Proud of him for that. I have another friend of mine, her whole family has a duplex paid off, and they have a trust on it too. So it won't skyrocket on property taxes, which is illegal, by the way, unconstitutional. All you got to do is read your state constitutions. And I know, like I said, Florida, once again, Ron DeSantis, like him or not, wants to eliminate property taxes, support the cause. Any questions? Read Article 1, Section 2 of your state constitution entitled Basic Rights. Stop being stagnant, unidimensional, being a bunch of damn fools. You got technology at your fingertips, utilize it. Better yourselves. See things more thoroughly. You don't have to be a genius to figure that one out. And please, I encourage people, once again, study some history. Especially in the banking system. The Federal Reserve are enemies of humanity. The World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, they hate humanity, period. And prove me wrong if you dare. I would love to hear from you. Well, enough said on this, my little rant for almost 10 minutes now. I'm going to be reading here from naturalnews.com, and came out today. The New Rights March, how Ukraine's Endgame could shatter Europe's centrist order. This is written by Willow Toll. A lot of tags on here, so let's read what it says here. on some of the key notes. Far-right and populist parties now lead polls in Germany, France, and Britain, signaling a historic shift in European politics. Establishment parties in Germany, France, and Romania have used legal maneuvers, electoral irregularities, and coalition firewalls to block the new right from governments. A Russian victory in Ukraine could weaken centrist narratives, expose war folly, and bolster the new right's credibility on foreign policy. Deindustrialization, energy crisis, and unchecked immigration have eroded public trust in centrist leaders, pushing forward towards nationalist alternatives, in other words, counting the Club of Rome. If the new right gains power, it could reshape EU policies on Russia, immigration, and sovereignty, potentially dismantling the centrist establishment's grip. For the first time in modern history, far-right and populist parties simultaneously lead polls in Europe's three largest economies, Germany, France, and Britain. The seismic shift, driven by voter discontent over immigration, economic decline, and the Ukraine war, threatens to dismantle the centrist establishment that has dominated European politics for decades. The question is no longer if the new right will rise, but when it will take power and what that means for a continent teetering on the edge of collapse. The catalyst, the looming end of the Ukraine war as Russian forces solidify their gains and Western support for Kyiv wanes. The conflict's conclusion could deal a fatal blow to Europe's centrist elites. Their narrative, built on fear of Russian aggression, unchecked militarism, and economic sanctions, is unraveling. Meanwhile, the new right's call for realism, sovereignty, and negotiation with Moscow are gaining traction. If peace comes on Russia's terms, as now seems invaluable, the political earthquake in Europe may be irreversible. The centrist last stand, rigging the game. Europe's establishment has long treated the new right as an existential threat, one to be contained at all costs. In Germany, the Alternative für Deutschland, or AfD, has been systematically excluded from coalitions throughout an unofficial firewall, despite winning 26% in recent polls. In France, President Emmanuel Macron's centrist bloc has manipulated electoral rules to block Marine Le Pen's Rassemblement National, RN, from power. Remember, Macron is a Rothschild butt boy. Metaphorically speaking, but it has merit. In Romania, the centrist resorts to blatant lawfare, disqualifying a new right presidential candidate on dubious legal grounds. Yet these tactics are backfiring. Voters see through the chicanery, as historian Tarek Cyril MR notes, how much more of this kind of manipulation before the word democracy loses any meaning it may still have. The centrist desperation is evident. They are ruling against the will of the people. Germany's misplaced votes in 2024 elections, thousands of ballots for the left-wing BSW party mysteriously vanished, ensuring the centrist coalition retained power. A nationwide recount has been stalled. France's electoral engineering, Macron's government gerrymandering districts to dilute RN's influence, yet Le Pen's party still led the polls at 34%, double Macron's support. Britain's Reform UK surge. Nigel Farage's party, now polling at 20%, has capitalized on immigration fears and economic stagnation, positioning itself as a true opposition to the Labour centrist orthodoxy. The message is clear. Europe's voters are rejecting the status quo, and the Ukraine war's end may be the final nail in the centrist coffin. Ukraine's peace, the catalyst for centrist collapse. Since 2022, Europe's centrist leaders have bet everything on Ukraine's victory. They poured hundreds of billions into weapons, sanctions, and propaganda, all while their own economies deindustrialized, energy prices soar, and living standards plummeted. Now, with Donald Trump poised to cut U.S. aid and Russian forces advancing, the war's conclusion is imminent. It will be Moscow's victory, not Kiev's. This reality terrifies the centrists. For years, they have smeared the new right as Putin's puppets, using the war to justify censorship, militarization, and economic sacrifice. Can we say projection? Absolutely. They're the puppets, folks, the centrists themselves. See, when they talk about one group are saying they're puppets, they're actually projecting themselves. That's what they are. They emulate that very well. Always read between the lines. But if peace breaks out on Russia's terms, the entire narrative collapses. The end of war scares. Centrists will no longer be able to whip up hysteria about Russian tanks rolling into Berlin. The new right's argument that diplomacy, not endless wars, serves Europe's interests will gain credibility. Exposing the war follies, investigations into how the conflict was prolonged by blocking negotiations in 2022, arming Ukraine with no path to victory, and bankrupting Europe's economies will destroy centrist credibility. The new right's vindication. Parties like AfD, RN, and Reform UK, which have opposed weapons shipments and called for negotiations, will be proven right. Their realist foreign policy will become the new mainstream. Alice Guido, AfD's co-leader, recently posted on X, the German government's aggressive course and waste of billions on arming Ukraine must end. We need a foreign policy based on German national interest, not Washington's. Once the war ends, her position will be unstoppable. The economic and migration time bomb. The new right's rise isn't just about Ukraine. Two deeper crises are fueling populist anger, economic devastation, and mass migration. One, deindustrialization and energy collapse. Germany's industrial output has plummeted due to sanctions on Russian gas, forcing factories to relocate to the U.S. or Asia. France faces rolling blackouts as nuclear plants age and energy costs skyrocket. Britain's post-Brexit economy is stagnant, with wages lower than in 2008. Number two, the migration powder keg. Over 10 million migrants from Africa and the Middle East have entered Europe since 2015. Sweden, Germany, and France now grapple with no-go zones, welfare strain, and cultural clashes. As winter approaches, unhoused migrants in Northern Europe, unprepared for cold climates, risk freezing, sparking social unrest. The centrists' response: more austerity, more open borders, and more virtual signaling. The new right solution: closed borders, economic nationalism, and energy independence. The future: a new Europe or a centrist last gap. The next 2 years will decide Europe's fate. Elections in France 2027, Germany 2025, and Britain 2024 to 2025 could sweep the new right into power. If that happens, NATO's Russia policy will shift. New right governments will demand negotiations with Moscow, ending the Cold War 2.0 that has bankrupted Europe. The EU's open borders dogma will crack. Mass deportations, asylum reforms, and border walls will become policy. The welfare state will be reformed. Pensions, healthcare, and subsidies will prioritize natives over migrants, reversing decades of centrist orthodoxy. Yet the centrists won't go quietly. They will deploy every tool of censorship, legal harassment, and media smears to cling to power. The battle for Europe so has begun. The reckoning when the dam finally breaks. Europe stands at a crossroads. The centrists' failure, economic ruin, migration chaos, and a lost war in Ukraine have left them exposed. The new right, once dismissed as fringe, now offers the only coherent alternative: nationalism, realism, and sovereignty. The end of the Ukraine war will be the tipping point. When peace comes, the centrists' lies about Russia, their mismanagement of the economy, and the betrayal of democracy will be laid bare. The new rights movement will arrive not as a revolution, but as an inevitable correction. As Nigel Farage warned in a recent speech, the establishment has had its chances. It failed. Now it's our turn. Europe's future is no longer in the hands of the elite. It belongs to the people, and they are demanding change. There's some sources from here, from RT, MSN, Political, and Time. What can I say? They're absolutely correct. We need to end this immediately in Ukraine with the bogus wars and bury the grand chessboard's vision of Zbigniew Brzezinski 6 feet under. I've read that book, by the way. and learn about Ukraine. That's why I'm not shocked at what was going on. The global research said that's another pawn at the grand chessboard. And they're absolutely correct. This is why men like Thomas Jefferson's first inaugural address says, commerce to all and foreign entanglements with none. That's always been like that. But when you got folks out there want to be imperialistic, Laconianism, Jacksonians don't matter. It's very dangerous. And people suffer. Doesn't matter what side of the coin, side of the nation they're on. I despise Zelensky and the Ukrainian government. I am not lovey-dovey with the government of the Russian Federation as well. However, when it comes to the people, I stand with them, humanity as a whole. Let's end this damn war. Let's throw these bastards and ungrateful maggots in prison. Have them serve get their due process, charge them for war crimes against the people of Europe. Their blood's on their hands. And let them do, if they're a bunch of songbirds and confess to part of the one world order, let them speak. Get everything documented and have them to walk in shame behind the tall walls. They earned it. Every single one of them that support this war or any of these wars, throw their behinds in the front line. See how tough these individuals are. Even though I do renounce the invasion of Ukraine by the Russian Federation, but you not provoke it. I will agree with Roger Waters on that one. Like him or not. I do agree what he had to say. Who's going to benefit, right? Not the people, but those ingrates that believe we're not more than peasants. Without the people of Europe, those statesmen are nothing. Peace in Ukraine and the rest of the world by liberating humanity. And that is it. I thank everyone for listening. Feel free to download and share us throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, recommendations, a lot of good stuff, whatever you do, please use decorum. I'll leave the footnote of this article on the page. You can check it out. And if you want to donate, go to PayPal.me or Cash Out @/localclick3. If you want to follow me and give me a little crypto love at Steemit, go there at LL3-Podcast. Sorry for the hiccup. If you want to support Natural News, donate, buy his merchandise. I endorse it. I always love their content. You should too. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that the demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.